Very good afternoon, Sanjay.
Good afternoon. It is such a pleasure.
Great
be
to
here.
see you here.
Yes, same
So
here.
we're going to be doing a podcast on a journey through semiconductors from global roles to L&T.
Yes.
So Sanjay, you started your career with Motorola at a time when semiconductors were just beginning to find deep applications in automotive. Those early years often shaped leaders for life. What did your Motorola experience teach you that still guides you today?
Excellent question, Sharath. I would say I was lucky that I was born into the journey of semiconductors. It was honestly not planned. I happened to get a campus interview with a company that was a startup in semiconductors way back in '96. And I was only told one thing, that this company does cutting edge work and every day will be fascinating. That was the only thing that drove me to join that company, which within a year got acquired by Motorola. So that's how my Motorola journey started. And I must say that whatever I have achieved in life, those initial formidable years were really, really important, because first time a person from Indian university getting into one of the topmost companies in the world, which was designing the world-class cell phones. And those days, Motorola was the aura, very close to, say, Apple of today.
Absolutely.
And I was lucky to get into their cell phone division, started working on their basement chips, and was taught the lesson of the low power designs, why it is important that every ounce of energy saving. And that is where the thoughts about innovation, the thoughts about why patents are so important, why you need to really go for the last bit of effort to get the best out of your designs.
Yeah.
And that set the foundation for me. So that's how I will put it. It has a very, very big impact in terms of my rest of the journey.
That's just beautiful. I mean, Motorola, companies like Fairchild, IBM, Bell Labs, they literally created this industry.
Yes, yes.
And Motorola was so instrumental with their practices of Six Sigma, and what a beautiful company. And
Yes.
they were the leaders in mobile manufacturing in the globe.
Yes, yes.
So from Motorola and the start of your career coming from India and moving now to the multinationals, you went on to Freescale and then to NXP, becoming the country director. These are names synonymous with global automotive semiconductors. What role did India play in their automotive semiconductor strategy for India?
So at that point in time, once the Motorola journey started with the wireless division became the most successful division they had outside US, and India team was thriving, and the leadership that we had, I was blessed to have people who told the value of first time right, the value of first pass success.
Exactly.
And once our chip started, first pass success, one after another, this team started growing, expanding. And that time, one lesson for sure, that to achieve success, you should focus not on success but on process of excellence. Success is a byproduct, right? And that is how our wireless division becomes so important, so highly respected around the globe. And then the second division, the networking division, that was in those days, early 2000s, you will recall, the baseband, the routers, they were taking real traction. Every household was getting connection for DSL routers, and the speeds were rising. And that is where the chips for high speed, high power networking applications. And in addition to that, the cell phone towers were really going. The credit card transactions, all that was moving into the data-based travel. And this traffic resulted into these very high powered, powerful chips. That was the second group that I was told to start. And that group set the foundation for a different kind of chips. While wireless was all about low power, networking was all about high ruggedness, high speed, high performance. And another interesting thing, that in wireless, the PPM targets on field, I remember, could be 100 ppm, is okay. But the moment you came to networking group, 100 is not okay. You have to be around 10 or 15. And the beauty is, when my third group, I was told to start the automotive group, which everyone said, India, you cannot have the automotive based engineering. It is zero defect. If electronics does not work at the right time, if the airbag does not act at the right time, it can kill someone. Not to mention the driverless cars, that were a dream at that time in 2005 I'm talking about.
Exactly.
And the ppm became zero. So from 100 to 50 to zero. But that is where I believe that if you challenge the right team, and if their spirits are in the right place, they take the challenge and convert it into success. We created history by creating world's largest automotive team in Motorola Freescale, because by that time Motorola spun off their semiconductor sector SPS, as they call it, semiconductor product sector, as Freescale in 2005 2006 time frame. And that is where it was fascinating that this automotive team started cranking engine, and against all odds this became the most successful, the first time right, the largest, the biggest. At one point in time 70% of the global chips were being designed into India Design Center
70%.
for automotive. And not to mention, not just the so-called vanilla chips, it was the cutting edge ADAS, the cutting edge driver infotainment system, the body control and gateway systems. So
From
we
India.
were right in the middle of the most happening place, and it was really very rewarding and satisfactory journey. And that is where in 2015, to answer your question, when we were at the peak of the automotive world, in Freescale, NXP, which was a similar child from Philips, while Freescale was a child from Motorola. So one was US-based organization, one was Holland-based European organization. Both decided to merge together. And 2016 January, we became NXP. And God was kind. NXP decided to make me the new country managing director and country manager, and that's how my NXP journey started from 2016 onwards. That lasted till 2023.
Remarkable. Such insight. I mean, someone from your perspective, bringing from wireless to automotive. And for the audience, ppm means parts per million. So in the semiconductor industry, when lives are at stake, the testing we have to do, you should get 0 defects out of a million, is what Sanjay was explaining. Thank you, Sanjay. That's incredible insight. I mean, someone with your vast experience, moving from wireless to automotive, and then also India at that time was just embarking on self-sufficiency in automotive industry. You saw Maruti setting up in northern India with the joint venture, and they started up setting these centers of excellence and trade schools and vocational skilling with ESSCI. And what we're seeing, if you fast forward to 2025, is now you're seeing that equipment is starting to come and these little centers of excellence for semiconductors. I think we can learn quite a bit from the automobile industry. So I wanted to ask, from your experience from NXP and Freescale, what is the impact that going from wireless to automotive and then from automotive into semiconductors, how has it impacted India?
I think that was truly a transformational journey for India, and that's exactly the reason. Way back in 2013 or 14, when the India story was started to, brewing up, I was lucky to know some of the mentors who guided me to participate into the industry forums and start contributing for the country.
Right.
And if you recall, that's exactly the reason. First time I became a member of Indian Semiconductor Association, which later became India Electronics and Semiconductor Association. First time I got into it 2013, and gradually became the board member. And that was the time when we started some of the automotive like-minded people to create something called SIX,
Yeah.
which you are very well aware of. How we were able to connect the dots from different stakeholders in the industry, OEMs, tier 1s, tier 2, semiconductor companies, software companies, academic institutes, government bodies, and knitting them together for a common goal.
Exactly.
And I remember I was leading the automotive SIG,
Yep.
and that is where got this real insights about what country is lacking. While in pockets we are doing some wonderful work, but together the symphony is not happening, right? And that is where we played a good contributory role via our own network with people like yourself, and in ISA we had a very good setup created, which I was lucky that in this journey, eventually I was asked to become the vice chairman and chairman of India Semiconductors Board, that I led from 2022 to 2024. So this has been a fascinating journey that gave me very good insights about where are the gaps, where are the opportunities, and how we can marry the two. And I think as a ISA chairman, we had a wonderful opportunity while you were there also as part of our leadership team. And we did a wonderful job together to help move the needle a little bit in the right direction. And so fascinating that today the journey is continuing, and Government of India is really pushing it from the front with the events like Semicon India and Electronica. Everything seems to be falling into place.
Yeah, it just brings back a lot of nostalgia, Sanjay. You and I have been there from the very beginning, and the work you did with the automotive SIG, having been fortunate to be a part of it, I can literally say we used your platform across the SIGs as a baseline of where we should aspire to be across. So really, you made such a difference. And when you talk about symphony, that symphony is all about the pieces of the ecosystem all working together in beautiful harmony.
Right.
So thank you for that wonderful insight. So definitely you talked about IESA. So parallel to your corporate journey, you volunteered and actively contributed, not just was a spectator, but actively contributed with the Indian Electronic Semiconductor Association, like you said, as a board member, vice chairman, and ultimately as the chairman. And this was at a time where you still are working for the multinationals, but you could see your heart was starting to become, what's in it for India? What's in it for India? What lessons did you carry from that journey in shaping India's ecosystem? And then we're going to talk about your transition over to Indians.
Yes. So I think there were multiple areas of reflections that I gathered as literally a student of the Indian semiconductor ecosystem, and few pockets were very clear. Nobody can beat the passion, the talent that Indian engineers, the Indian ecosystem had. But that was not enough. Right? It's like you have a lot of petrol, but it requires a vehicle to convert into energy, right? In a vehicle. So there were two major areas that make what semiconductors industry is. One is how to define the products. Second is how to design the products. And third is how to deliver the products. Right? So it is a journey from define, design, and deliver. Let me explain what it means. Most of the products, whether it is a phone, whether it is an automobile, whether it is a state-of-the-art LED TV, the way they are architected in a certain way to deliver some value to the end customer. How to convert that concept, the customer idea, the innovative value add into something that you can write on a piece of paper as a product specification. That is the engine of the train. That is the first major piece. How to define the products. We also call it in our language systems and architecture. The second major piece is how to design these products, which means the software coding, which we call RTL coding, the IP design, the processor design, the RISC core or the different cores like ARM and IBM, and there are a variety of cores in the world, putting all those together to deliver a chip after designing. And the third is how to deliver it with the post-qualification, the certification, the HTOL, the high-stress testing. So these are the three different aspects, and come right in the middle is the manufacturing part. Right? Now, India started taking the strides into all of those. What they did, they started with Indian Semiconductor Mission. And they attacked one part which was, I would say, low-hanging fruit. Not so low-hanging, but at least with the sheer power of money, you can get the manufacturing done in the country. And that is where, thanks to Government of India, very progressive policy, you have almost 10 units of fabrication as well as OSAT in different states of the country. Right? That is number one. Number two, the designing part. India is the largest hub for semiconductor design. As a matter of fact, more than 25% of global talent resides in Indian MNCs. Right? We are already gifted in this area, and that is our natural asset. The third thing, which I believe we really need to push through, is making India a product nation. And to do that, we need to attack the first piece, the ability to understand the customer problems,
Yes.
converting them into how to define, how to architect.
Yes.
And once you put your architects along with designers, along with manufacturing units, and along with the testing units, this is the perfect symphony in semiconductors.
Exactly.
Now, I'm very happy that these reflections happened from a grassroots level, because we were talking to academic institutes, we were talking to tier 2, tier 3 college students, we were talking to the small startups which are really struggling how to get on their feet. Now, in this journey, Rome was not built in one day. So same way, we will not be able to do it in just like that. It will take its time. We are already 5 years since Indian Semiconductor mission really took a big shape. Not even 5 years, right? I believe it is a decade-long journey. We are one third done. We have a long way to go, and the only way to succeed is keep pushing that passion, keep pushing the collaboration.
Yep.
Unless we all join forces across different stakeholders,
Yep.
government, industry, academia, startups, the collaborators, we will not be able to do it alone. So the name of the game is collaboration. And these were the basic insights to answer your question I got into those formidable years from 2015 till 25, last 10 years. Every single day, this belief get inspired further, that we need to convert India into that technology power, which is only possible by focusing on all these four pillars.
Exactly. Collaborate.
Collaborate.
Common problems that we can solve together, which are non-competing.
Right.
And we always concerned about IP and competition, but there is a base level where we can collaborate and we all save and we all benefit from it.
Absolutely.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. So now we're talking about the big shift from the multinationals, and we both have been blessed with careers in multinationals, and taking the shift to an Indian company is something of a paradigm shift. It's like you ask yourself, what are we getting into from where we were? So that really takes a different type of spirit. After decades in multinationals and industry bodies, you moved to Indian corporates like Minda and now L&T. What drove that shift, and what do Indian companies most urgently need from semiconductors?
Great question. Thank you for that.
Sure.
So the fact of the matter is, those initial formidable years I was speaking about, where the opportunity seems huge for the nation, multiple things, right? One is, we missed Industrial Revolution 1, when the steam engines were getting shape, and for obvious reasons, India was not a sovereign nation, so we could not do that. We missed Industrial Revolution 2, when the electricity was born, when these cars and automotives in early 1900 were coming up. We also kind of missed the initial semiconductors birth in the 1950s, 1960s. We were very, very young, independent nation. Right? I believe today is the time, the fourth revolution, you may say, which is the true transformation of semiconductors power, coupled with the technology that is all pervasive, with no boundaries of countries. Right? It is the AI, it is the quantum, it is the high performance devices. And today, India, as a very vibrant, fastest growing economy, has no barrier. If we miss this one, it will be a historical disaster, and we cannot let it happen. So these thoughts were getting more and more stronger, and in 2022, November, I finally took the plunge.
Yep.
Minda Corporation was a company that spotted me, and they wanted me to lead their electronics vertical as a CEO. I always been a risk taker in my life. I said, if this is the moment, I need to capture it. So I jumped into that, and in about 2 years of time frame, I think it was very memorable experience, because we were able to transform the company from multiple small siloed units into one cohesive vertical that was focusing on electronics and high-tech space for infotainment, for sensors, for telematics, for high-end ADAS, and all about automotive. And it gave me a very unique perspective about how the business is done in the country.
Yes.
India is an extremely cost-sensitive market.
Yes.
So just developing a very fancy semiconductor device is not enough. It needs to meet the price point
Yes.
where Indians can buy it,
Yes.
where we can be competitive in the global space,
Yes.
where we can compete with China, we can compete with Taiwan.
Yeah.
I saw the negotiations happening for 1 cent. And that was really mind-boggling coming from MNC experience where, anything below dollar, you literally don't care. Here you are fighting for a cent.
Yeah.
That gives you that push for a frugal innovation.
Of course.
And how the entire supply chain works. It exposed during one of the issues we faced, a delivery coming out from China could not reach in time, and we created something which caused a temporary blockage in the supply chain. That taught the huge lesson about the risk of supply chain,
Of course.
especially in the current geopolitics. If anything happens, right, it will be disaster. So those are the kind of exposures that we got, and I am just closing it because it is getting it. So just a second. Otherwise, so these exposures were really vital. And finally, when I got the chance to design semiconductors from scratch
Yep.
for L&D Semiconductors offer, I couldn't resist it.
Yeah.
Because now it was the Indian business knowledge along with the technology knowledge.
Yep.
And it will be fascinating that if all this can roll up to the best in class, competitive, high quality products that we just not only sell in India, but we sell in the world, beating our competitors from China. That will be the real fun.
That's a fun.
And that is what driving me right now.
Fantastic. I mean, we always have been seeing for the last 30, 40 years, Indians aspiring, educating here, and then the brain drain going to the US. And we always saw very few people coming from the US back here, and then let alone going from an MNC to a services company, and now staying in India, keeping your roots here. It requires global leaders like you, Sanjay, to get this thing moving. So we really appreciate your service and your dedication.
Thank you.
So I wanted to move on now to building the ecosystem at L&T. Now at L&T, you're steering semiconductor strategy at scale. What do you see as the top imperatives to build a robust semiconductor ecosystem in India? You talked about Symphony, but can you talk a little bit more about the ecosystem in that regard?
I think this is really a place where we are, seeing it live, right? As L&D Semiconductors aspire to be India's first product-based company, and we really help making a product nation. So we are facing the real-life challenges every single day. We are competing with big semiconductor companies from Europe, from US, from China, from Taiwan. So every day is a realization of number one, innovation is the only way that will keep India going, keep L&T Semiconductors going. Number two, we need to be innovative to the last penny, which means that a frugal innovation, which means that highly competitive devices while maintaining the edge on the innovation.
Right.
Number three, highly efficient cycle times, highly efficient operating expenses so that we do not burden the company with the very, very high loaded cost.
Right.
And number four, reach out to all the players locally and globally, because India itself is a great opportunity, but rest of the world is also waiting for alternate to the current China situation. So keeping all these perspectives, we are focusing on four major domains. Number one is very, very important domain, RF. RF based chips typically goes into anything that is a radio communication. Right? It can go mid-range, small range to a very, very long range communication, high complex radar and high performance chips ensuring our defense. The RF is literally a white field or a green field for us, and we have a dedicated team of experts focusing on RF. Not much work happen in the country indigenously in the RF, so it's a great area to be in. So we are getting the experts from global, and that is to answer another comment you made. Brain drain was the game earlier. Now we are saying brain gain. So instead of drain, we make gain, and we are getting a lot of global experts.
Of course.
A lot of Indian origin people who want to contribute back to the country.
Of course.
And people like yourself, who spent considerable amount of time and then came back to serve the country. We are getting them back to the country. A lot of PhD students who have great opportunities at par with any other global company.
Yes.
We are bringing them back.
Excellent.
Number two, high-end compute chips.
Yes.
So these chips can go into industrial applications. They can go into automotive applications for driverless cars. We recently signed up an agreement with India's largest IP surveillance camera company called CP Plus. So we will be designing their next generation
Wonderful.
AI-driven chipsets and SoCs to do variety of very interesting compute work. Third domain is analog mixed signal chips. These chips go into, as an example, your charging applications in cell phone to charging applications into bigger gadgets, your motor control applications like BLDC controllers.
Sure.
This is a huge market where India itself being a largest middle class, more than 300, 400 million middle class, all the fans are going to be converted into the BLDC brushless design fans from the current motor fans.
Exactly.
And they will result in 50% power saving.
Absolutely.
They're lightweight, they are high, long life. So, so a lot of work is happening. And the fourth, last but not the least, is the power devices and power modules. India is a complete 100% importer on power devices, whether they go into a very small inverter to very big HVDC systems, transforming high-end voltage and current of 6,500 kilovolt across thousands of kilometers.
Exactly.
So this HVDC technology is something we are working very closely with Ministry of Power, and this is our fourth vertical. So touching automotive, industrial, and energy markets, and really trying to do things where it may be a little sticky, but it will be long lasting. And we are not really jumping and doing a Me Too product. We are not trying to build up something which anyone can have, right? These are really very strategic markets where you can do a long-term play.
Fabulous, Sanjay. I mean, I think it requires the industry to help glue those silos together. I found in our journey that academia tends to maybe work in sometimes silos, less collaboration. Our public sector undertaking units are working in silo. Now you see a period where CMET is now coming under CDAC, and then you have entities like Samir. And for the audience, CMET is the Indian Public Sector Undertaking Unit, which is working on advanced materials like graphene, for example. And Samir is working on the RF side. And then you have L&T, which is producing products made in India, for India, from India. Now, if the industry can come in and glue all of that together, there's beautiful work that India has been doing over the last 50 years. It just needs to bubble up and boil up to the surface and make it happen with actual applications.
Absolutely.
So you mentioned about power, and I wanted to talk about power electronics focus. Interestingly, most approved manufacturing projects in India are for power semiconductors, IGBTs, MOSFETs, wide bandgap devices like gallium nitride and silicon carbide. Why is this focus so critical? And you talked about BLDC fans, so could you just expand on that? And what will it take for India to play on a global stage here? I wanted to ask even a deeper question about whether we could potentially own from end to end. And one example I'm thinking about is maybe two-wheelers or three-wheelers as a case study? So can you talk a little about that on power?
Sure. So excellent topic, Sharath, you have raised. Power electronics, power semiconductors is one area where literally we are close to zero. And since you talked about two-wheeler, three-wheeler, and in general, power semiconductors will drive the EV revolution also. Let me share some interesting facts. Today, the average electronic content or a semiconductor content in a four-wheeler is roughly $400 to $500. With the power semiconductors penetration, thanks to EV revolution that is happening, this is all set to cross $2,000 to $3,000 in next 5 to 7 years, based on all research. That is number one. You take the same fact on two-wheeler market. Today, the semiconductor content in an Indian two-wheeler, roughly about $100. This is all set to cross $300 to $400, maybe $500, the way Again, EV is driving a lot of innovations in two-wheelers itself. Features like telematics, features like auto start, features like the music, features like the automotive traction control, and many others are getting very, very normal. Even geofencing and tracking your bike or scooter is getting very normal. Now, India produces about or consumes about 20 to 22 million two-wheelers and about 2 to 3 million four-wheeler cars, if I forget about commercial vehicles. If you do the math, we are talking about 15 to 20 billion dollar opportunity.
Exactly.
Purely power semiconductors, purely driven out of EV revolution. I'm not even adding other things like ADAS and the big things that will drive it further. Right now, this whole thing is zero, consumed by India but not produced by India.
Exactly.
Can we let this 15 to 20 billion dollar completely go in vain?
No.
This will drain not just India's fiscal deficit, it will create a huge supply chain risk.
Exactly.
If tomorrow something happens,
Exactly.
and if some country says we will not supply to India,
Exactly.
India cannot
Can afford.
be, brought to standstill. We need to take our destiny into our own hands.
Exactly.
So your question is extremely, extremely relevant from a two-wheeler, three-wheeler, and four-wheeler industry perspective for India. And this industry is the driver of economy of any country.
Exactly.
Because if this industry thrives, there are millions of direct and indirect jobs. There are huge roadway networks that get fueled. There are ecosystem around these road networks like restaurants and fuel stations and then service stations, then repairing centers. So it's a fuel of the economy.
Exactly.
Right? Now, coming back to this point, the two technologies, if I mention, which will change the world for India, is moving away from a traditional, costly, high power consumption silicon-based technologies, especially in power semiconductors, to the two that you mentioned called wide band gap, silicon carbide and gallium nitride. These two technologies can offer extremely high density, high efficiency devices that can really make the device not just more efficient, but also lightweight, smaller. Their thermal management, their power management is extremely sophisticated, so you don't need the cooling and the overheads that otherwise you will need. And overall, it will result into booming of this sector at a much higher pace. These devices go into things like your onboard chargers, your traction control motors, your inverters, your DC-DC converters. All these devices are plenty in any EV or a power semiconductor space. The same is the case if you transform it into any other motor control applications for industrial, or go towards the EV charging, or you even go towards the high-end transformers, rectifiers, and then eventually to AC/DC.
Yep.
And the HVDC kind of a 6500 volt, 10,000 kilovolt and above.
Exactly.
This is the bottom. Coming back to two-wheeler, the second thing that will drive is a very sophisticated. So if this was the heart, the brain is your battery management system.
Yeah.
Because the range anxiety is something we always talk about. How fast I can do the charging, we always talked about. Battery management system is all about how intelligently you can measure the current into millions of small cells connected in series and parallel. That sophistication is done by very specialized ASIC.
Yep.
That works with these electronic power sensors together.
That's right.
And that is the second area that India can lead.
Absolutely.
And the third one, if I say the nerve center. So we talked about heart, we talked about brain. The overall nerve center or the guardian could be the functional safety compliant automotive core. And this automotive microcontroller should be functionally safe, should be able to work into the automotive extended temperatures ranges, which are very wide compared to any consumer devices. And I think if you attack these three pieces around power semiconductors and microcontrollers together, we can be the fastest growth engine for the two-wheeler, three-wheeler, and four-wheeler industry, coupled with power semiconductors growth. And honestly, this has been our focus in L&D Semiconductor also. But this is the opportunity so big. We can have 50 companies in the country that can come and develop our own IPs.
Absolutely.
You know, and then on top of it, you need the power modules,
Absolutely.
where you are playing an active role in guiding this thing through. We recently acquired a company
Yeah.
from Japan called Fujitsu,
Yeah.
power module company, and we are going to put all these power devices from SiC and GaN and IGBTs into these power modules, and these will work from a low and 600 volt all the way till 6500 volt and
Absolutely.
10,000 volt application
Absolutely.
to really make India the superpower for power semiconductors, which nobody is doing right now.
It's just beautiful. You explained it so beautifully and so clearly. And we are going to see a world just like we see our cell phone fast charging in 5 minutes. We want our cars and our two-wheelers to charge in 5 minutes, not
Absolutely.
overnight.
Absolutely.
And that requires infrastructure and power semiconductors that L&T is
Yes.
working on.
Yes.
And even other areas where we may be able to actually own at a global level is that fusion between our farmers and technology and agritech and conversion of biomass into power will all require power semiconductors, and India can add so much value to which is our core,
Yeah.
which is agriculture. So power cuts across everything.
Absolutely.
Wherever you see an AC or a
Absolutely.
DC socket or a battery, it's power.
On this point, I remember that once I spoke the day, and that time I did not know about power semiconductor can do so much of magic. But 10 years back, I said it will be such a great thing that you have your coffee and your car is charged
Yeah,
in 10 minutes. Today, that is a reality.
in reality.
Because with the power semiconductors, thanks to SiC and GaN technologies, you can go up till 800 volt.
Absolutely.
And in 800 volt, today in 20 minutes, you can do 80% of your charging.
Absolutely.
So it is really happening. And the India's economy will be fueled by not just automotive, but we are going towards one of the fastest railway network.
Absolutely.
That railway network is being powered by power semiconductors.
All power semiconductors.
All the traction motor controllers and your
Absolutely, high
aeroplanes
voltage.
and whatnot. Sky's the limit.
Sky is the limit, the railways. Absolutely, so exciting. We could go on for hours talking about the
Yes.
opportunities. So we talked about power, we talked about automotive, and we talked a lot about design. I wanted to shift a little bit on manufacturing. And India has proven its strength in design and services, but manufacturing and productization, becoming a product nation, is still lagging. What gaps remain, and how is L&T working to close these gaps to become a product nation?
Yes. So this is very important linked to the four pillars I spoke about earlier. So the first pillar, how we create a pool of experts in the country, and whatever I'm saying for the country is true for L&T. Those people can go and talk to any customer in the world, whether it is automotive customer, whether it is industrial customer or energy customer, and we solve the problems of customers. The day we have a solution, that is what you are moving towards a nation with a product design capability.
Yep.
Right? That kind of a capability, the hard fact is we lack right now. There are not too many system architects, there are not too many architects who can do that. Even in big MNCs, they are in very, very small percentage. And that is one of our motto, that when we talk to all local or global customers in L&T, we are actually trying to build that capability as a number one. That will give us the scale, that will give us the push. And you need a lot of domain knowledge, you need a lot of creativity, and you need a lot of perseverance to make it happen. So multiple attributes need to come together so that you keep working on it until you understand what problem you are trying to solve. Right? Me Too product development is very easy. You can pick up any existing chip and you can make a copy of that, right? But looking into the real life problems, we talked about power, right? It is a real life problem. We cannot leave a financial loss of $15 to $20 billion. We cannot have the supply chain risk for the country.
Nope.
It is a real life problem for the nation. Now, in this context, if we start building those products, which can work in Indian rugged conditions.
Yep.
Just to give you an example, what I mean by solving customer problem. You can potentially buy or import a two-wheeler from Vietnam to India. They have a very good two-wheeler story. But the reality is that the use case in Vietnam or any other Southeast Asian country is different from India. In India, two-wheeler is often considered as a middle-class family car. You will find often at least the couple sitting, sometimes the two kids also sitting.
Sure.
that use case is not there in the Southeast Asian countries.
Sure.
They use mostly the mopeds or bikes for the last mile connectivity,
Yeah.
right? So if you just get this bike and put it to Indian use case, it will completely fail.
Very
So
good
we
point.
need to design Indian products with Indian use cases.
Yes.
That is what means solving Indian problem. Second thing is, so basically it means that you need a stronger motor, you need a stronger power.
Exactly.
Second thing is Indian environmental conditions are very
harsh.
different from some of the other nations. The temperature, the heat, the rains, the dust,
The vibration.
the vibration, the famous Indian roads are still a problem, right? So the testing, the ruggedness of imported chip or imported product may not work in India,
Exactly.
right? I mean, the same analogy you can put on any product, you will find the special use case of India.
For India.
From a battery usage, a cell phone usage, Indian cell phone usage will be very different from
Absolutely.
rest of the world, right? So we need to solve problems for India. And that is where we need the systems and architect so that we can call ourselves a product nation.
Yeah.
Where Make in India products are so rugged, I'm very confident they will sell anywhere in the world
Absolutely.
because they are testing Indian conditions,
yeah.
right? And that is I heard a very interesting phrase that it is not an India use case, it is India's abuse case.
Yeah.
Because if you work in that environment, you can work anywhere in the
anywhere.
world. Because eventually we need to sell our products not just to India, as Prime Minister Modi says,
Yes.
the Make in India for the world.
For the world.
And same is the motto in L&T Semiconductors.
Beautiful.
We want to design in India, we want to make in India for the world. And that is the reason we have not just India, but we have actually 5 centers across the world where L&T Semiconductors has operations.
Excellent.
They are our business development and sales marketing teams.
Sure.
So that what we are designing here can reach to the world, from Japan to Germany to US to Taiwan.
Beautiful. It goes back to a story I heard about the origins of the IGBT
Yes.
and the invention of the IGBT, which is basically miniaturizing a high power application, a switch into a small form factor, has saved the globe $2 trillion.
Wow.
And it was invented by an Indian giant Paliga.
Great.
So these are all pioneers which have transformed the globe, and we need to be doing it from India, in India
Absolutely.
conditions. And just like we say, if you can drive in India, you can drive anywhere. If you can design in India, for India, it'll work anywhere else in the world.
Absolutely.
Beautiful. It'll be a dovetail into this. It's a natural fit.
Yes, yes, yes.
So great. We talked about this transition from design to manufacturing. We talked about from a services nation to a product nation. None of this is possible without the people. And everybody's talking about skilling. We have so many beautiful programs, Skill India, Digital India, the university. We always talk about bridging the gap between India. We talk about it, and I'm actually seeing it happen. And we're seeing the COE comes up. But ultimately, industries are built by people. What kind of talent, skills, and culture does India need to truly establish to be relevant in the semiconductor industry?
I think you said most important thing. This all dreams are based on a foundation pillar of talent. Now, India is lucky in some way, demographically. India is the youngest nation today. More than 50% of Indian population is lesser than 32 years of age. We will remain the youngest nation for next 3 decades. That's another advantage.
Yeah.
So time is on our side. So if we marry the young people along with the beautiful opportunity in front of us, right, that will create India the superpower in technology world. Now, how we do that? India might be producing the largest amount of electrical, electronics, semiconductors focused, or maybe even embedded software focused engineers, multi-millions of those a year. There is a acceptable gap in the last mile connectivity, which is the finishing schools.
Yes.
So the first thing that I believe that we need to tap this huge talent pool into something that can hit the ground running on day one.
Yeah.
And to make it happen, a very important role for skilling that will be required through a partnerships between, again, the same players, academic institutes, government bodies, and industry. It is not possible individually, trust me. I've been working, and you have been so closely associated through ISA in past, and now in your current roles in bridging these gaps. Everybody wants to do the right thing, but you need to have all forces coming together to achieve your dream. We have some of the finest academic institutes today, well funded by government, but if they are not given the real life industrial challenges,
Yes.
you know, just research in a siloed manner will not lead us to the success. So we need the real professionals to be embedded deep inside academic institutes and vice versa, so that when we are doing real life industry problems, we are having a flair of academics and real research flavor, because it's also a mindset issue in India. For long enough, we have been deprived of a culture of innovation, a culture of deep research. So it will not come in a day. So we need to do some forceful embedded work, embedding academic experts into industry and
Industry and vice
embedding industry experts into academics. And my thought is unprecedented times require unprecedented measures.
Sure.
Maybe we build a policy, maybe we build a program where we allow a dual employment of some sort, which is given a green signal certification by a government and industry that, okay, 5% of my employees are allowed legally to work in academic institutes as professors. And we build a program, like we publicize it, we make it as a role model career,
Sure.
and vice versa. I think that is one thing. Second thing is the skilling part. Now government has a skilling program. I myself was part of a board of India skilling initiatives for a few years. Our skilling ministry, our education ministry is launching a lot of programs around semiconductors. We need to knit it together.
Yep.
Lot of top institutes in the country still lack semiconductors insertion in the curriculum.
Yep.
We still have a very theoretical, by and large, syllabus. We need to embed a mandatory practical industry internships
Sure.
across colleges, not just few colleges, but across colleges.
Yeah.
Because I believe that nothing can compare the real life practical experience. You just cannot do that in a school environment, reading and just submit an assignment. The third thing I would strongly suggest is, again, going to the theme of the brain gain. We need a lot of Indian origin guys, or maybe non-Indian origin guys, who want to come to India for these opportunities.
Sure.
Just like many Indians went to abroad in previous decades, and make it a national movement.
Yep.
That this drive is going to create the best future for you in many decades to come, which is true. That will create an atmosphere of talent, skilling, and everyone working towards some practical use cases. And then these, I strongly believe, just like Prime Minister Modi has this Semicon India, we should make a mandatory prototype India kind of a national mission, where we promote startups and a big show of startups coming every year with semiconductor real solutions,
Exactly.
not just me-too products,
Yeah.
actual differentiated products, and then VCs and government bodies coming together and all live picking them for funding or acquisition or whatever, right? That will create, consortium and forums like that. That it is a live show.
Yep.
Where career are and dreams are converting into real success. So that would be my take on converting huge talent across India into a powerhouse of startups, and then powerhouse of the big brands coming out of India, so that we can also say that these top 5 semiconductor companies in the world born out of India.
Absolutely. Beautifully put. L&T is a perfect company to be able to drive this initiative at a national level. We have over 35,000 ITIs across the country. And to make them employable and to funnel them into the semiconductor ecosystem can help us at the bottom of the pyramid with the technician and the operators. And then if you look at the research and development, India is spending hardly 0.2%
Yes.
of GDP, where the world average is 2%.
Correct.
Now, of course, this webinar or this podcast is not about R&D. That's for another time. But the opportunity is massive, and
Massive.
maybe a policy could be extended in, like for example, in CSR, instead of social upliftment is good, but perhaps we make it mandatory that they
Yes.
invest in R&D.
Yes,
We have to get that needle moving on the R&D investment.
absolutely. Huge opportunity.
Great. So as we wrap up this wonderful podcast, it's been an absolute delight and pleasure spending time with you, Sanjay. We've known each other for about a decade now,
Yes,
and we're going to continue to work together as we see us towards this march toward 2047 and our 100th birthday.
Yes.
So what is your message to the next generation of engineers and entrepreneurs as we aspire to be a developed nation by 2047?
I think that all the young people, as well as all the old people like us now, we can have the best of our time yet to come. We have seen India growing from literally nowhere to almost 4 trillion economy, and rising from probably nowhere to the top 4 economies in last 10 years, right?
Mhm.
So the acceleration is happening. But I believe, seeing all the action that is happening in this beautiful conference, that the best is yet to come.
Yep.
So if you have a dream, follow your dream, have the perseverance, because this is the opportunity you cannot afford to miss. All stars are aligning, from the opportunities, from the customers, from the government support, academic support. The overall ecosystem is one of the positive in last many decades I have seen. And if you really want to make it for you, nobody can stop you. You are unstoppable. So just seize the moment, seize the opportunity, and convert your dreams into reality. That's what I would say. I feel so excited seeing in front of my own eyes India rising into this high-tech space, where it is. If I dream about 10 years from now, we will be having definitely few companies that will be among the top companies in the world, where we all will be very proud to say, yes, we were part of that ecosystem, when it happened.
Realizing the dreams that we sought after will be a beautiful experience.
Yes.
Thank you, Sanjay.
Thank you so much. It was such a nice pleasure
Same here.
talking
Thank
to
you.
you.
Thank you.